can do whatever the Hyundai you want.
Hey, I'm Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
G'day, I'm Marcus Ambrose.
Hey, this is Kenny Rogers, and you're listening to
The Fuel Pod.
This podcast covers all things motorsports. It's unfiltered, it's unabashed, and
Ooh, we're going crazy.
What's up, Jay?
Pod, what's up, Chad? I just wanted to welcome everybody
I got
back.
stuff going everywhere. I forgot to hide the background.
Let them. Yes, you did. Let them
But I
know we
fixed
got
it.
a great
We're good
show
now.
planned for them tonight.
We do have a
So
great show
welcome
planned for
to
tonight.
episode 38, Ticket to Ride / Paint It Black, and we'll get to that and why it's called that later. We are going to be talking about the Daytona 500 tonight. We also have some more F1 car reveals, which I think totals us out. Maybe am I right, or do we have?
No,
more
I
after
didn't
that?
put. You said something about not putting in.
I did. Yeah.
Which ones are we doing tonight?
We are doing McLaren, Aston Martin, Ferrari, and AlphaTauri.
I don't think I threw Ferrari in there because I was going to do Ferrari.
I threw Ferrari in there.
Oh, okay. You got it on your side.
Absolutely. When
Okay.
Ferrari does something, I jump. Right.
Okay, so
okay.
because I wanted to do. Or you actually, it was your idea of having some next week. So we're going to do Mercedes
Right.
and Alpine next week. But that's
And
everybody.
I figured we could cap it off with our own little F1 fashion show, car fashion show.
Dude, I will
decide
wear
which-
whatever you want.
No,
Oh.
you
Oh.
went too far there,
Wait,
man. You went
no,
around the
did
bend.
Did I
so
make it
what we-
weird? I didn't.
So
mean
we're
make
going to
it weird.
talk about our top 3 favorite looking cars.
Okay,
next week.
Mercedes.
So we'll do our
Um,
votes, and anybody in the chat can obviously make the votes as well. I know Mikey
Sure.
probably will.
Mikey's an Alpine guy. I know it.
Yeah, of course he is. The Baskin Robbins car. We'll get to that later. So after that, we're continuing as we build up to Bahrain. And by the way, winter testing is 7 days away, man. So then
Dude,
the week
we're-
after that is the race.
We're getting close, man.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm so ready for the lights are out and away they go.
Anywho, after that, we are going to continue our history series with the history of Mercedes, AMG, Petronas F1, and the history of Oracle, Bybit, Walmart, Red Bull F1 tonight. And I saw the eye roll,
Yeah,
and I'm
Well,
pleasantly
you got-
okay with that.
You got a little bit of an eye roll. Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah. And then we're going to cap off the race information with the results from WRC Rally Sweden. And
Cool.
we'll talk about how the snow was. So anyway,
It was a land of ice and snow.
But
Jason,
brother,
we're going to kick it off with the 65th running of the Daytona 500. Does that sound good
do
to
it,
you?
man. Yeah, I was getting ready to tell you. Take it away. It's your show
So,
here.
Well, you're the one that put this in here first, but I'll talk a little bit about NASCAR.
Okay.
So for Eric out there, for F1 Farmer, this is how you do qualifying with sprint races. So they qualified, and the guys that qualified first and second actually start the race first and second. So it's crazy how that works. You know how NASCAR does everything backwards, but somehow they have this figured out. I don't know how. Anyway, Alex Bowman wins the pole. Kyle Larson runs second, and I did not know. I found this out as I was doing some research that Alex Bowman has started on the front row 6 consecutive times in the Daytona 500, which is a record.
Dude, I know I'm going to play your role right here,
That's
and I
fine.
feel bad already. Has he won it?
Oh my gosh. Somebody
See
out
how
there
that
in
is?
listener land-
See
Yeah,
how that
that's fine.
goes?
Somebody out there in listener land knows. I don't. By the end of the show, while you're doing Rally Sweden later, I will look that up.
Right.
And we will find out if Alex Bowman's won. I don't
Sure.
remember him winning the Daytona 500. I know he's won. I don't know if he's won the Daytona 500. So we'll look at that and see.
Still,
Also,
man, an impressive feat. 6 times on the front
Yeah.
row in a 43 car field.
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
So
I mean, it's never been done before. So it's pretty cool. And he also announced he has a contract extension with Hendricks Motorsports through 2026. So it's a good day for him. Jimmy
Yeah,
Johnson.
solid
go ahead.
job security, man.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
telling
you got a couple
especially
more
in
years.
today's day and age.
Jimmy Johnson, I don't know if you read that or saw that, has a minority ownership stake or a part ownership stake with Richard Petty Racing. It's called Petty GMS now.
Okay.
Sorry, I've still got the coughs. It's been a week. So anyway, so he is racing in the 87 car as an open entrant. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have a guaranteed spot. There's more cars than there are spots.
Okay.
But he raced he qualified himself in, and Travis Pastrana, we talked about him a couple of weeks ago because he's racing for 2311, but he has never raced a Cup Series car ever. He's been in the Xfinity Series and he's done the Truck Series, but he's never been in a Cup car, has never raced the Daytona 500, and they had zero practice. So they had him out in the parking lot. Remember that? I remember we talked about that. Denny Hamlin was saying this is a terrible idea. Had him out in the parking lot, 84 car. Sorry, thank you, Mike. I thought it was 87, 84 car. I knew Mike would know that.
Well, it makes more sense now since it's the inverse of his normal
48.
number.
That does make sense. Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Mike. Hey, Mike, look up and see if Alex Bowman's ever won the Daytona 500 for me while you're out there. Our producer,
Mike,
Mike,
our
is
guy in the
on
chair.
Yeah, he's going to be our producer. So anyway, Travis Pastrana races his way into, or qualifies his way into the race too. So that's really awesome.
Man, I'm trying to. You've been talking about it now for a minute and a half, and I'm trying to wrap my mind around Travis Pastrana being in a NASCAR car.
Well, he's done Xfinity before,
Okay.
And I'm sorry, somebody said before, but I'm going to cut us off here for just a second. I made a comment on here, primestrip.com, because somebody before said they needed the link, so I just wanted to put it in our comments so everybody can listen to me right now. It's in our comments. It'll be in our show rundown when you look at it. Yeah, so he's raced the Truck Series quite a bit, and he's raced Xfinity, I think, a little bit. But this is his first time actually in the big series in the Cup, which is kind of crazy to think about that because this is his first time there.
If you don't know who Travis Pastrana is, he's he's a motorsport adrenaline junkie. He's kind of done a little bit of everything. Motocross. I think he did snowcross in the X Games. He's done some rally. He obviously is a huge fixture on the Rally Cross, which is the racing version of Rally. He ran that Ken Block livery after Ken Block passed away.
I mean, he's an elite driver.
Obviously. And I can see him in the Truck Series because those trucks tend to get squirrely. And I can see him in the Xfinity Series because those guys tend to get squirrely. So I'm gonna key in on that. I'm looking forward to seeing how he does.
Me too. Yeah. He did not. I've got the. I just quickly. Right now we're recording, and the duels just finished up. So the qualifying duels at Daytona just finished up. He did not do great. I thought it said he did 21st. I was quickly typing this in as we were getting ready for the show. But duel number one, Joey,
you kind of auto-tuned there for a second. Yeah, it was cool though.
Joey Logano won. Christopher Bell, Oklahoma boy up from Norman, Oklahoma, gets second, and Ryan Blaney finishes third. And Zane Smith, this is a newcomer in his first time in the Daytona 500, he raced his way in. So that's he didn't qualify himself in, but he was another open entrant, and he raced himself in. And duel number two, Eric Almirola wins. Austin Cindric gets second, and Chase Elliott third. And I looked this up. I've never seen this before, and I don't know who Racing Insights are. Honestly, I don't have a clue. But they had a projected finishing for the Daytona 500, and I thought it was kind of interesting. They had Ryan Blaney. Again, I think that's somebody that he won one race last year, but it was not a points race. It was the All-Star race. Chase Elliott, normal, and then Denny Hamlin. So that was who they're projecting to be the 1, 2, 3. And I am a big Ryan Blaney fan. He used to have a podcast called Glass Case of Emotion. And it was a fantastic show. I wish they would bring that back because I really, really enjoyed that podcast. It was a good time. They talked about a lot of stuff that was a lot of fun. So
I see you got AJ Dinglinger on here.
Yeah, he's back, man. So I
made the Xfinity Series.
Yeah, so I made this little thing right here because it's on the move, familiar play. I called it on the move, familiar faces and new places, because there is a lot of people that moved this year. A lot,
dude. Based on this list, it looks like hold on.
Thanks, Mike.
Let me post that real quick. That's a big deal.
I was showing that too.
It looks like they had their own silly season, man, in NASCAR. Yeah. It really does. I mean, they kind of went everywhere.
We didn't cover it a whole lot because we just weren't doing a whole lot of NASCAR.
It's not a term that's really. It's not a really term that's really equated to NASCAR typically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, our generation, and when I say our generation, I'm talking about when we were in our 20s watching NASCAR races religiously. those guys stayed with the same teams forever, man.
Yeah, they
You know
either
what I mean?
retired or
Yeah.
another thing is racers lasted longer in their lifespan. That they raced till they were 45 or 50.
Yeah.
Sterling Marlin was around for a long time. I mean, Ricky Rudd was around for a long time. Dale Jarrett was around for a long time. Those guys didn't
Yes.
race. They didn't race their way out of ride. They were just there forever until they decided to retire.
Yeah. Now these guys are retiring at 32 or something
Yeah,
like that. But
or they get sponsor money's harder to come by, so guys get let go a lot quicker if they're not sponsor friendly.
I remember when, like, some of the young bucks when I was younger, like Jeff Gordon, when he was in his 20s, how ticked they would be at Mark Martin, because here's Mark Martin already almost 50, and he was running the Bush race on Saturday just so he could recon the track for Sunday. And they
Absolutely,
thought he was cheating.
it was a
They thought it was
brilliant
cheating.
move. They used to always do that, and
Stu,
it's brilliant.
I
What's
wish,
Stu
man.
say? Can I retire at 44?
I'm already past that, so I don't. Yeah,
I got a couple more
something
years.
else.
So just real quickly, some new drivers or some drivers you're aware of and familiar with, but they're in a new
Okay.
ride. Number 1, Kyle Busch goes from the 18 at Joe Gibbs to the 8 at
Now,
RCR. He
he's
is
a
not
pretty
in
good.
prison.
He's a pretty good driver, though, right? I mean, I don't know
He's
if.
pretty decent.
I mean, is he known?
I guess he's all right, I guess. Tyler Reddick loses his job at the number 8 at Richard Childress and goes to the number 45 at 2311. I'm going to kind of hammer through these pretty quickly, but
So is Bubba out?
no, he's still in the 23. He's in the
Okay.
23. Actually, he has
Okay.
a new livery this year. It's like a matte gray, which I love.
Yeah, you'll be all over that. Except is he still got the Jordan sponsorship? So
he does, yeah, and it's
Yeah.
McDonald's and Jordan.
Yeah.
And Ty Gibbs, if you remember him from last year when Kurt
I
Busch
do.
had his concussion, he took over for him. He is joining Joe Gibbs full time in the 54 car. Ryan Preece, who was, I can't remember, he raced a little bit as a reserve driver up in NASCAR, and last year he was in the Xfinity. He's coming back up to be at Stewart-Haas. He's in the number 41 at Stewart-Haas,
which is our only tie-in team with Formula One.
Yep,
which is awesome.
Which is kind of cool. It's weird
Yeah.
that Haas doesn't have their own team in NASCAR, that it's a co-team like that. To have all that money sunk in F1 and not have that money, I guess that's why probably.
You remember we did a whole little thing on Gene Haas last year.
I do.
Where we talked about, the guy's got tons of money, but he does not want to. He wants to bring in sponsors to really pay the lion's share of a lot of things. It seems like he builds the team, I think, but as far as putting all the bells and whistles together, I think he wants other people to do that. And I think that's where Stewart comes in for him for NASCAR, and where whoever he can pick up or whoever Gunther can get for Formula One. Yeah. I don't know. You might disagree with me, but that's just the way I see it.
I don't at all.
He seems very tight when it comes to that.
Yeah, I think that's probably part of the reason why Haas doesn't run in the front. Jimmy Johnson went from retired and running Indy cars mediocre to running the number 84. Thanks, Mike, because I put 87 in my rundown too.
Hey, Bobby, it's a long time, man. We opened with NASCAR, man. So
of course, Robert
coming in. Yeah,
of course, Robert's in the show. And then AJ Allmendinger up from the Xfinity Series to the number 16. I don't know how to pronounce that. Colleague. Something Racing. Noah Gragson. If you remember Noah Gragson last year, he is the one that was racing for Junior Motorsports and Xfinity, and he immediately turned on the road course. You'll remember this. On the road course, he wrecked everyone on purpose.
Yes. Yeah, okay, I do remember that.
So that was Noah Gragson. So he is going to go from the 9 of Junior Motorsports and Xfinity up to the iconic number 42 for Petty Motorsports. And then Ty Dillon, who was in the 42 Motorsports for Petty, didn't do real well. He got bumped back to Shire Racing number 77. I never even heard of Shire Racing. I don't know if he made the Daytona 500.
I haven't even heard of the number 77. So here we go.
I haven't either. And there was I stopped there because there was a ton underneath that I had never heard of, or it was, crew chiefs moving or car engineers moving. And I wanted to kind of halfway stay relevant of names we would know. But I mean, that's a lot. I mean, that's 8 different teams and drivers moving around this year. I just felt like that was a lot. So anyway, that's kind of all I had on the 500 and getting ready for the Daytona. I mean, I'll have my NASCAR minute here in a little bit, and shout out to Mikey. He helped me do the new audio drop you're going to hear on the NASCAR minute.
Yeah, I'm excited about that too, man. That was cool.
It was a lot of fun to make that, and Mike did a great job.
But first off, great job. guys, listen, Chad put together a great segment on this week. He really a lot of good sound effects that I'm excited about, and doing a lot of this background work has been a relief and awesome, man. So thank you very much for putting this together
I
tonight.
appreciate it, dude. Thank you. It was fun putting it together. It was a lot of
But
fun
the
putting a NASCAR.
500, you don't have to be a NASCAR fan to love the 500. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And admittedly, I agree. I'm not the biggest fan. I mean, I had the couple years where I went to every race, me and a few buddies of mine when I was in the service, and enjoyed it every second of it. But you got to watch the 500. It's like, it's
the great
Monaco,
American
and
race.
it's all, yeah, it's one of the marquee races of the year, the Brickyard and the whole bit. So looking
But-
forward to watching that race. Still
but-
remember where I was on the fateful Dale Senior Day. I was literally at Chili's in Daytona
Oh my gosh.
with my parents. And I can't remember if I was on leave or if I'd just gotten out of the military, but either way, I was at Chili's, and it happened while we were sitting there eating a late lunch. So, anyway, but moving
Sorry.
on, we
Terrible cough today. I apologize. I hit the
it's
wrong
all right.
button to mute it.
Hey, at least you didn't
Not
yank
you.
all your system out and leave me on the screen by myself. That was
Everybody doesn't want to hear me cough today. I apologize.
so. Moving on to our car reveals as we build up to the 2023
We're gonna do
Formula One racing season, and
McLaren
I
first.
titled this segment "Black is the New Black" because we are seeing a definitive pattern. I actually tweeted Formula One today. I don't know if you saw that, where I literally put the line from the song. I see a line of cars and they're all painted black, and I actually thanked Ferrari and AlphaTauri for continuing to almost fully paint their car.
Man,
So,
so first off, shout out to you. You just said a word, and you and I actually looked this up this week. And
yeah,
I wrote it on my notes that I was going to talk about it at some point, and then you're going to talk about it now.
Yeah.
So in NASCAR, it's a sticker package. All of those stickers are painted onto vinyl. They lay it over the top of the car with the fake headlights and all that, and heat transfer it onto the metal. It's all one big sticker.
right.
So you said last week they paint it. It's their paint scheme. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, it's not really. I mean, I think I even said it. It's stickers. Well, we were talking about it this week, and you looked it up. And Jay,
Yeah.
you want to go into what you looked up? I mean, because I was
Yeah,
just
and I was
dumbfounded.
99% sure it was painted, but we did look it up, and they actually do paint their schemes on their car. Now, as far as there's a combination with some of the sponsor decals, obviously, some of them are painted, some of them aren't. But as far as the paint job itself, it is paint.
And that's so cool that they paint those cars.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
think that's cool.
Well, we're looking at the McLaren 60,
Yep.
the MCL 60. Not much different from last year, other than the inclusion of mostly black. And it's important to note, if you didn't watch last week's show, the black parts aren't painted at all.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the carbon fiber and the metal. And the reason they do this is it saves them weight, and which will produce tenths of seconds on lap time. So I'm not real excited about this new route where we're getting what I call minimalist art on the cars. It should be as fun to see as it is to watch them drive.
And Jay knows me. I love black on black with black, or matte gray, or matte black.
Yeah, you're a neutrals guy.
Or matte gray. Give
With-
me my truck
yeah.
is dark gray with black wheels, black door handles. I mean, that's what I like, So to
Yeah,
me, I love seeing all the black in the cars. Like, I absolutely love it.
That being said, this still is a snazzy car, man. I
It's a
mean, you can't
good-looking
go
car.
wrong with the orange and the blue anyway. They complement each other perfectly.
They do.
But they went with the black front wing and the underfloor, of course, and then they pretty much cleaned out all of that orange and blue that was, you see towards the back of the car there,
Yep.
right in front of the rear tire. That was all orange last year. Now it's
that.
all black. So, it's a good looking car. The weird thing about it was I actually watched. Did you get to watch the launch party on this one?
I didn't. I did not get to watch the launch party.
They talked to Lando, and he was like, yeah, it's a car. I'm excited. It's a new year, blah, blah, blah. And of course, Oscar Piastri was nuts. He was like, oh, I love it. It looks great. And he said, but admittedly, this is my first F1 car.
Yeah. I mean, so of course he's excited.
Yeah, he's happy as a lark. And then you got Zach Brown, who seemed to be metering expectations. And he wanted to tell people, hey, we're not going to be, it was like he's coming out of the gate saying we're not really 100% confident with this car. So that was kind of weird. Although, Zach's very much the politician. So um, in the paddock as far as chief principals go. So anyway, excited about it. It was cool to see, and I don't know the answer to the question I know you're going to ask, but
Yep. Okay.
it was
And I
cool
won't
to see
ask it.
Jack Daniels in F1. I have not seen them on a car before. And I don't know. So Mikey, if you want to look that up, but Jack Daniels is a sponsor on the McLaren car. I mean, I don't know how big. I mean, obviously not big enough. They're just on the
It looks like it's
on
right
the
there on the front,
nose.
right? Yeah, on the
Yeah,
front nose.
on the nose.
But
Obviously,
it's kind of cool
chrome.
to see American. I mean, an all-American company on the front of an F1 car. That's pretty neat. I mean, I
Yeah,
guess
and
they are going to run 3 times in the U.S. this year, so makes
And it
sense.
also makes sense because they got the Indianapolis homegrown boy running that team. So it does make
True.
some sense. And they got DeWalt on there, man. So they've got a few American companies.
It's the redneck F1 team. I like it.
Yeah. Google.
I tell you,
Obviously.
I'm kind of liking something about me is wanting to. I don't like McLaren. I don't like the way they handle. I know we talked about this 1,000 times. I don't like the way
Right.
they handled Danny Rick last year. I don't like the way Zach Brown handled that whole situation.
Right.
But I think I'm going to cheer for Oscar Piastri. I think I'm going to cheer for him.
Because he's
I
new,
really,
or is there any
he
other
just
reason?
I like the way he handled himself last year.
Yeah.
I like the way.
Oh, that was gangster last
What's
year.
up,
What he
Chris?
did after that tweet.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the way he handled himself. I mean, like it's pretty ballsy, dude. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it was.
And so I thought that was cool. So I'm
Right.
going to cheer for him. I'm not going to cheer for Lando. I hope Lando has an engine failure every week.
I don't disagree.
Next one up would be what we got next. Aston Martin.
Aston Martin, man. One
Let's
of my
throw that
favorites.
Aston Martin up there.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll throw that Aston Martin up there. Add to stream.
Yeah, let's do that.
See, and I really dig this one.
Yeah, and I think the background. I wish they would have had a better popping background on that when they showed
Yeah.
it, but because I think it actually takes away from the car.
It does.
But,
I mean, because the colors are too similar.
And again, everything under the day glow yellow,
Yep.
highlighter is black. Now they had a lot of black on theirs last year. The front wing is the same. The nose at the bottom portion of the nose is the same, but the rest of it was green except for the rear wing.
By the way, I apologize. Everybody on ESPN Paris 105.1, if you are listening to this, this is a reason to watch us live on the live stream or go to YouTube and watch us afterwards because you get to see these pictures that we're putting up. And I know we're not doing a real good job of painting it, but you need to go back and look at these because these cars are beautiful. Just even if you don't like F1 and even if you don't get into racing and can't watch the race every Sunday, it's still pretty cool to look at these cars, man, because they're beautiful works of art.
Yeah, they are. And that, and I talked about I wish they painted them, but they're still beautiful cars, man. I'm not gonna dispute that. Same sponsor package with them. Where's Aston Martin going to be this year? I know we can get the predictions later before Bahrain, but Lance Stroll needs a PR spin guy for one thing. I watched this launch as well, and his only answer seemed to be the 12-year-old answer. So yeah, and wow, yeah, a lot. So yeah, a lot. And I'm just like, dude, you're an adult in the pinnacle of your sport. And your answer you got 4 words. Those are your answers to every question. And Alonso goes off on a litany of things he wants to accomplish this year and what he thinks the car can and can't do. And, you could say it's the difference between 25 and 41. But I'm sure Alonso's had some training. I'm sure Alonso's a smart enough guy to go, hey, make sure this sounds smart before I go out there on stage and make a fool out of myself.
Yeah, I mean he's old enough. I think that's a different generation too. Honestly.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, and this one, I mean, I'm gonna pop it up there one more time. I just don't see a whole lot of difference from last year.
There's not.
I mean, it looks
they moved some of the sponsors around, but other than that, it's
a lot like you put on here, and this is not what I mean. That it looks like the Red Bull car, but I mean, it's kind of like the Red Bull launch. There just wasn't a whole lot to it. You know, the Red Bull, there just wasn't a whole lot of change.
Well, this one's actually the shape is like the Red Bull car as well. So we can talk about that later, though, when we get to other stuff.
All right, let's go to the most beautiful car.
One of the most
I guess the one that you're going to run up here in a minute is going to be the one, huh?
No, it's not actually, but it's up there too.
Okay,
this car is, dude,
the Toro Rosso AlphaTauri.
AlphaTauri, the
Um,
white bull.
See, in this one, I thought I can tell it a little better now. When we talked about this, I thought all that bottom was dark. No, wait, no. It is dark navy blue, right?
Yes.
And I thought it was everything under the AlphaTauri was black.
No.
Which the AlphaTauri, again, if you're listening, it's running down the side of the car with the huge bull logo. What is that logo called?
It's the AlphaTauri. It's the white bull, man. It's
okay. So it's kind of the Red Bull bulls,
yeah.
pretty much. This
Well,
is
it
one
is,
of
but it's
I
their
don't-
fashion line. It's their clothing and apparel line. It's not the energy drink.
This is probably my favorite logo on a team, honestly. It's not my favorite
It's a
team, but
sharp
it's my
logo,
favorite
man.
logo. I think it looks cool on the car. I think it's one of,
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the only cars that has their logo that prominent on the car. I really
Also
I
like
dig it.
their new hubs with the red inner ring and then the almost like a tribal swatch coming out.
It kind of looks like a ninja star. Like
yeah,
those
like a
old ninja.
shuriken. Yeah.
Man, when I was a kid, I'm gonna tell you what, I thought ninja stars were gonna be more of a thing. I really thought that we were gonna have like ninja stars were gonna be a thing. Oh well. I just accidentally clicked that. Anyway, so there's the AlphaTauri car. Okay, hold on, wait. You put on here your notes, and I don't know if I said I was going to ask this, but
Do it.
you said they went away from Red Bull on some of the important techie stuff, and I asked you why would they do that?
And this is a good opportunity to shed light on the rules process. So it doesn't matter. Unlike NASCAR, where you can have, and I think NASCAR is on the right track with how they do it, but as opposed to Formula One. But so Red Bull is Red Bull, and AlphaTauri is the junior team for Red Bull. It's the junior varsity team, basically. So most people would think that Red Bull designs a car, and then they just give it to AlphaTauri and have AlphaTauri put their paint job on it.
Which is what I thought, honestly.
Which is what anybody would think that. But the rule stipulates that every team has to construct their own car. And while it's true that they can take the power unit, any power unit, within question, but they can take the power unit from the Red Bull, but the car still has to be designed by them. And Aston Martin's a good example because they literally copied the Red Bull car. Why not copy what's working, right? So
yeah, for sure.
But AlphaTauri decided not to, and they've kind of went with their own design and see if it works. Maybe it works, maybe it won't. So we'll see.
Okay. So up next, you said you loaded the picture. So
I did
will
not.
let you. Oh, I thought you said you did.
No, I did not load the picture for the new Ferrari, but
Well, I didn't.
we don't need it. It looks almost absolutely identical to last year's car. Yeah, it's a red Ferrari. Who knew?
Who knew, right?
So
funny is Alan sent me the picture, and I forgot to load it.
Every one of these car launches, besides the one I'm about to talk about, pretty much went the same way. They were all about 40 minutes long. The first 20 minutes were, this is our, showed some kind of hype video about the history of their company and introduced people off their team and what kind of charities that they were highlighting today. For instance, Aston Martin has like a high school, Polytechnic High School from London. They had some students in that have been spending time with Aston Martin. And then the last 20 minutes, they reveal the car on the stage, on the turntable, talk to the drivers, talk to the principals, talk to the engineers. Thank you very much. Good night. See you later.
Okay.
Ferrari opens up with a set of bleachers with about 500 people on it. And they sing the Italian national anthem,
which is pretty cool.
And they sounded great, by the way. I thought it was a show choir, but it turns out it was basically some high-paying fans and most of the development team for the car. Awesome opening. No turntable. They weren't inside where it was nice and comfy. They were outside at the Fiorano track, which is their home track. They opened their paddock there, and the car rolls out onto the track. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. It's realistic. They're showing us the car on the track. Then they flip a coin between Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. Leclerc wins the coin toss, and he gets to run 2 laps in the car. So we got to see their car roll.
Which is cool.
Nobody else did that I'm aware of. I mean, Red Bull had the weird thing where they flew theirs in on a helicopter in New York and dropped it off on the streets of Manhattan.
Which is
But
also cool.
also cool, right? So anyway, the Ferrari looked really good. You
We'll
know,
get
and
it
that's
loaded up here
do
next
you
week.
realize what kind of heavy risk that is, though?
Because anything can happen, man.
Well, they're filming it live, so Leclerc could wreck. The
Yeah.
engine could blow up. They could have a reliability issue during their car launch video, right?
Yeah, anything could happen there.
So
That's crazy.
Talking about ballsy moves, that was a ballsy move.
Agreed.
So
That's cool. I mean, it's cool. We'll have pictures next week because we're going to have Mercedes next week. We'll have Alpine next week, and we'll throw up the Ferrari so we can talk about it a little bit because there is some stuff on the side pods that I didn't know, and you taught me through. So let's hold the side pod talk, and let's talk about it next week because we're going to get two different. We'll actually get three different ones next week because we'll have Alpines, we'll have Ferraris, we'll have Mercedes. We can talk about the difference in all those. Yeah. And then what were we talking about? You have Maddie's comments on here. I'd like to hear that because I didn't know what that was.
Well, it's just weird because the past couple of weeks I've been, you know, yelling at the sun about all the no painting the cars, and they're really kind of dumbed down this year. And then I get on Twitter and I'm just reading around, and Maddie Gallagher made a comment that the FIA should institute a rule where every F1 car has to be fully painted.
Okay.
And
he's saying that they should make a rule that says it?
Yes. And here's
so if
the
it's
thing.
black, it has to be paint. If they want black in there, that's fine. It has to
have to paint it black. Yes.
It can't be carbon fiber. Okay.
Correct. And I think that, I see where he's coming. There'd be people that would argue this, of course, but if every car is painted, then they're still going to be all just on premise alone, just on the surface, all the same, right? So there won't be any corner cutting as far as saving weight for paint.
Okay.
So, I mean, I like the comment. I still side with it. I do think that, F1, it is what it is. It's an R&D hotbed for hybrid technology. But at the end of the day, it's still a fashion show out there in a lot of ways. And there's nothing wrong with that. Those cars are gorgeous, and those guys are like fighter pilots in them. So,
yeah.
It's an excellent form of racing, and I think that we should enjoy, seeing beautiful cars out there running around. So anyway,
I agree. And where we differ is I think this year I like the paint schemes of the liveries more than ever. Right. I don't care about the saving a couple of ounces here and there. I just like the black look. I just think it looks cool. All right, Jay, are we ready to move into our history lesson for the week?
Yeah, let's move into our history lessons, man.
Dun, dun, dun. And this is not last week. This isn't a coach teaching your history lessons.
Yeah,
this is Jay.
So last week we talked about Alfa Romeo and Ferrari, and there was a really good reason for that because they both basically were there at the beginning. And if you remember, that was 1950.
Okay,
was when Formula One started. 1954 is when Mercedes entered the fray as a works team under the name Mercedes. And their first car was the W196 in 1954. And guess who drove that car, Chad?
Who drove that car, Jay?
Juan Manuel Fangio.
We talked about Fangio last week.
We did talk about, because in 1951, he won the world title with Alfa Romeo.
Okay.
In 1952, he won it with Ferrari, but he couldn't stand the people he worked with at Ferrari. So he left and he went to Maserati in 53 and won it with Maserati. Then in 1954, he left Maserati in the middle of the season. Went to Mercedes.
Okay.
And won the driver and constructors for Mercedes.
That's pretty cool.
From the middle of the season.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
he's the GOAT. We talked about that. He's the GOAT.
Yeah, he's the absolute GOAT. So anyway, he obviously stayed with Mercedes through 55, and that was his last title because he won 5 titles, right? 51, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yeah. So won it in 55, but we have a non-F1 issue that happened to Mercedes. So in June of 1955, they competed in the 24-hour at Le Mans. And driver last name, and I'm going to butcher his last name. He was French. It's Laveau, I think, if I remember correctly. Goes out of control, rolls the car, rolls into the crowd, kills 83 people and himself and some pit crew people. And by the way, folks, if you're one of those people that likes watching this stuff or doesn't like it but wants to see it, that video is available on YouTube. You can pull up the video of that wreck and just watching it, and the footage is really raw. I mean, it shows people laying around. I mean, it's not great. Anyway, Mercedes decided their best bet at that point was just to leave. And
so I'm going to ask a question real quickly because I just read this as you're talking about it, and I'm learning new stuff.
Yeah.
So this happened at the 24-hour Le Mans.
Yeah.
That is not a F1 race.
No. It's
So
an endurance race.
So did they leave all motorsports at that point, like all racing, all forms of racing?
I do, and it's important to say, it's important to stipulate that they left as a works team.
Okay. That makes more sense.
They didn't race under. They supplied power units. They supplied parts,
but they didn't have their team anymore.
They didn't have a Mercedes team.
Okay.
And I think it was just, man, honestly, of course, this was the 50s. I think the guy is just his moral obligation to say, we don't, until we can fix safety, we don't deserve to be here.
Gotcha. Okay.
So they took a 55-year break.
55
and
years.
Came back in 2010. In 2010, their drivers, and these are, relatively unknown drivers, Michael Schumacher, and Nico Rosberg. But Schumacher actually came out of retirement to race for Mercedes, and he didn't win a race, by the way. Nico Rosberg outscored him.
Well, I mean, that was at the twilight of his career. I mean, he was
it
done.
was at the end. He was just in it for the show at that point. But 2010 through 2012 were not good years for Mercedes. But before we get there, I want to flash back to 2009. In 2009, Ross Brawn had a team called Brawn GP Racing, and it was a Formula One team. And they decided on a Mercedes power plant. And it was their first year in Formula One. And they won the constructor and the drivers with a Mercedes power plant. And first time in the 60 years of F1, nobody had ever done it. My question to you is, why didn't the surrounding chief principals from all the other teams, I mean, they should have got it in their head, okay, these guys are going to make a comeback, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But they didn't. And 2010 through 2012 were not great years for Mercedes, but they had signs of greatness. They had plenty of podiums, and they had some awesome opportunities to win races, and they just didn't win the big ones, right? So moving to 2013, they acquired Toto Wolff as, the chief race director for Mercedes. And he, of course, brought along Niki Lauda, former world champ. And they hired, this is what I'm talking about when I talked about last year that Toto is the master strategist. He hired George Russell then in 2013.
Brilliant.
For the junior driver program for Mercedes. Right?
Yeah, that's brilliant.
So that's 8 years before Russell would get a seat, but he knew, right?
Yeah,
so
he knew.
We can say whatever we want about Russell, but he is good.
He's a hell of a race car driver.
So anyway, the rest is really, as they say, man, it's history. 2014 to 2021, they went on an 8-year tear and won the constructor 8 consecutive times. And Lewis Hamilton won the World Driver Championship 7 of those times, with the exception of 21, which was Max's first win. So, anywho, it's a great company, man. I wish I liked him. I don't. I like Toto a lot. He's probably my favorite chief principal, without a doubt. Just because he is a genius. And but they're in a rebuilding phase, and I think it's going to be painful still this year. So we're not talking about predictions right now, but I still think it could be bad. Yeah. So anyway, that's all I had, man, for Mercedes.
So I pulled the Red Bull card this week, and while I am not anywhere near the history guy that you are, and I won't do as great a job as you just did with Mercedes, I'm going to try to give some facts and a little bit, right? So I did not know. I did my research. I didn't know that they are a relative newcomer. Like they're kind of a baby in the sport.
Yeah,
they have only been around. They started in 2004, and I also didn't know that Christian Horner is the only team principal they've ever had.
Yep.
And that was his first year in F1. So I thought that was kind of cool. So they hire Their first podium came in Monaco, 2006. David, how do you say his last name? Coulthard. Is that right? David Coulthard. But the
Yeah.
real turning point for this team, I mean, they just kind of meander around 2004, 2005, 2006. They podium. The turning point comes in 2009. In 2009, they finished 7th in constructors, and David Coulthard retires. And he is replaced by someone, sorry, I'm moving around, that you may have heard of, Jay. He's replaced by Sebastian Vettel,
Okay.
who at this point is
Yes.
just a German driver, young dude, part of the Red Bull Junior team. He won with Toro Rosso, which is now AlphaTauri. But he was relatively, he was a young dude coming up in the sport. Well, that same year, they have a major reset in the aerodynamic regulations, which kind of leveled all.
Well, that was
the
a
playing
big year.
field.
Yeah.
So it leveled the playing field. And what the article I was doing my research on just said it gave Red Bull a chance to shine. And so they get their first win the next year, they get their first win in 2009, Vettel, and they finished 1-2 with Mark Webber. And in 2010, it's like the light came on. They went from finishing 7th the year before, they become the class of the field. They win the constructor. Vettel barely beats his teammate to become the F1's youngest ever world champion. But it's cool. He barely beats his teammate. It's something we talked about a lot this year in who was going to win between Max and Sergio. I don't know. I'm not a student of the sport like you are. If they had team rules back then, if that was a big deal, or it was every man for his own and whoever wins wins.
I don't think you have to be. I don't think if you have to. Oh, no, dude, team orders back then were worse than they are now.
Okay, so
and
then
you
it's
don't
kind
have
of
to
cool
be a student of the sport. Yeah,
that they were both
it's
winning.
The same with any business or company, man. You're going to put your best assets in the best place to do what you want to get done.
I think it's really cool that it sounds like they kind of let them fight it out over the last race to see who's going to be the champion. I think that's neat, and so at that point, that sparks a 4-year run. Vettel wins 4 straight championships. They win 4 straight constructors. Vettel in 2014 moves to Ferrari, which I asked about this, and you told me he just always wanted to race for Ferrari.
Yeah.
Just kind of cool. And that gives Danny Ricciardo. Wait, hold on. Yeah. 2014, enter Danny Ricciardo. Vettel moves over, and Daniel Kvyat comes up. Kvyat, something like that.
Yeah, who cares?
He replaces Sebastian Vettel.
Right.
So the reason that little thing is important, that Daniel Kvyat, whatever, replaces Sebastian Vettel, is because Kvyat only makes it 5 races.
Yeah.
And then he's replaced by someone we've all heard of, Max Verstappen. So, and I didn't know this either. I didn't realize Max had been around that long. Yeah.
Yeah.
He
won his debut race, man.
Yeah, he won at Spain.
That's crazy.
His debut race.
Yeah.
He wins at Spain. And so while all this is going on, this is all right in the middle of this insane Mercedes run, right?
Right.
They're switching, they're getting Max in. Now it's Max and Daniel Ricciardo going back and forth. And then it switches over to, Ricciardo leaves and Sergio Perez comes in. And first off, you had Pierre Gasly and who's the other one? Alton. I can't think of his last name.
Albon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alex Albon.
Alex Albon. Alex Alton was in my head. So they're going, and then they get Sergio Perez. Well, anyway, so now catching us up, 2021, Max wins the driver championship. 2022, he wins the championship, and Red Bull wins the constructor. And now are we kind of in a Red Bull run here? Is it going to be a Red Bull run? Is somebody else going to step up? Is Ferrari going to step up and try to take that spot and kind of end it quickly? Because it seems like this has been a Red Bull 4-year run, a Mercedes 8-year run. Now it's a Red Bull, I call it a 2-year run because you have Max winning the championship. So what's going to happen here?
I obviously could be 150,000% wrong on this, but I don't think we're going to see a 4-year or 8-year run again for a while. I really don't. And especially as we get closer to 2026, where we get the next rule change. And that's pretty much going to do the carbon-free footprint bit and different regulations on the cars. I think it may be 2, maybe 3 years tops.
Okay. So you think, are we counting 2021 as a Red Bull year? or is that still a Mercedes year?
Yeah,
I mean, I
we
know
have to,
Mercedes
man.
won
They
the
won.
constructors.
Well,
Mercedes won the
no,
constructors.
you're right. We have to count it as Mercedes, man. That's still a Mercedes year.
Okay, so
Because
really,
I'm gonna always side with the constructor
go
over the
constructors.
driver.
I got you.
Yeah.
And so, and okay, off of the subject now. I mean, not off the subject of still F1, but I did learn something just a minute ago while you were doing your Mercedes history. This is the 73rd year of F1. You said it started in 1950, right? Is that correct? Started in
Right.
1950. So this is the
Yeah.
75th year of NASCAR. So that's kind of cool. I didn't realize they had started. I didn't realize NASCAR started sooner, but I didn't realize they were. I mean, they're almost exactly the same age. It's kind of cool. But anyway,
Yeah.
that was my
neat.
my squirrel
It's weird that
moment.
F1 is the
Is
yeah.
the younger. Yeah.
I mean, F1. It's weird. Well, yeah, but it's weird because it wasn't called F1. So I mean, we obviously have to go on what when it was first started in 50. But I mean, they were racing what are just called Grand Prix racing in air quotes for years. Of course, we had again same from last week. We had the big war, so that kind of shut it down for a little bit. But anyway, yeah, dude, good information.
Yeah, man. Thank you. You did a lot. I mean, yours was much more in depth and thorough. I just kind of threw facts at people.
To be fair, Mercedes has been around longer, so
That's
I
true.
mean,
That's true.
Red Bull to do what they've done and it's you didn't say this, but they're not a works team. They're an energy drink company.
Yeah, which is
that
pretty
have
cool.
now won
with 3 different power plants.
Yeah, and 5 constructors. So that's pretty awesome.
I mean, it's pretty awesome
in and of itself. So anyway,
so Jay,
Chad, let's go to the snow, man.
We're closing in on the end of this show, so we better move through this pretty quickly.
I'm gonna blow through Rally Sweden really quick, so you can do your minute because I feel like
I'll do my minute in a minute.
So Rally Sweden in the snow. I'm gonna do this as a lightning round. Oyt Tanek in the M Sport Ford, and this is his first year back with Ford after many years. Wasn't even expecting to win it. Took home the title. Rovanperä came in 4th. You already asked me, should we start seeing concern for
when do we hit the
defending
panic
champ
button
to win the rally title? And I don't think so. I think we give it 3 to 5 races and figure out what's going on. Anyway, crazy race. Elvin Evans came in 5th. I was pretty happy with that. He's my guy on Toyota. So just tons of snowbank. Esapakalapi was knocked out. He spun the car on a drift and nailed the backside of the car and then got stuck in a snow ditch and couldn't get out. So he was stopped.
So did he actually tore up the car done?
He couldn't move the car. You have to be able to move the car. They couldn't even get it out of there. They have to be able to drive that car out of there, and they couldn't do it. So he got nailed and taken out. So anyway, man, that's all we had. I'm really happy for Oyt Tanek, man. He hasn't won in a while, and so it was good to see him win.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You put on here Ford is closing the gap. We got enough time to talk about it a little bit. It looks like
so Toyota dominated Rally last year. I mean, they absolutely it was the first year for hybrids in Rally, full hybrids. They run basically a similar setup to F1, but as far as the way the batteries are laid out and all that business. But nobody could touch Toyota last year. The guys who were racing, Toyota Yaris, whatever, it was excellent, especially not Ford. Hyundai was the only one that got close. And now we see Ford and Hyundai taking the top 3 spots out of 5 and Toyota coming in 4 or 5. So, the real question that I think we're going to talk about as we get more and more through this year is, have they closed the performance gap? And I think they have, obviously.
I mean, it sure seems like they have.
Yeah. So anyway.
Well, where's our next race at?
I'm pretty sure we're going to either Finland or Croatia.
And they always have a break in between, so we got a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, we got a little bit.
All right. It's the audio drop you've all been waiting for.
Let's do it.
The Mikey special, a little segment we like to call the NASCAR Minute.
It's time for the NASCAR Minute. But for right now, crank it up.
Dude, I don't know why I love that so much. And it's still, it needs a little bit of work.
I mean, you look like a 5-year-old sitting up there. You're so giddy.
It still needs a little bit of work. But Mikey, I
Yeah.
texted about 5 of my friends, and they all did a great job of sending me clips because I didn't want it to just be my voice saying it's time for the NASCAR minute. And so I sent it to
Right.
like 4 or 5 people, and Mike sent me back that. And I was like, oh my God, I have to use this. I don't know how,
Yeah.
but I have to use it. So the NASCAR minute clip still needs a little bit of work and some tweaking and tuning and stuff, but we're getting real close. And huge shout out to Mikey because he did a great job on that. So I'll be quick because I know we are running out of time.
We
We've
are.
already talked about the Daytona 500 quite a bit. The 2023 championship odds, if you're going to go to Vegas or anywhere that allows sports gambling, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, both 7-1, Denny Hamlin 10-1. I didn't really go back real far because it with NASCAR, it's kind of the top 10 kind of are in that range, 12-1, 13-1, and then it drops off to like 10,000-1. You know what I mean? So it goes real quick.
Yeah.
And things I put in here, just Daytona 500, teamwork and drafting partners is the key, and limit your exposure to enemies. So my question is, what happens when Hamlin and Chastain get together? Bush and Logano get together, and Kyle got into it with somebody today. Daniel Suarez, I think, in the dual race. I didn't get to see
Kyle
everything
really
on it,
doesn't
but
need a reason, dude. Come on.
he's kind of gone
Just
back
gets
to
out
that
of
a little
bed.
bit. Well,
Yeah.
there for a few years it was all that. It was either he was going to win or wreck, and then he went for a couple years in between where he was very consistent, and you didn't see that. Now it seems like we're back to that Kyle, overly aggressive. Maybe he doesn't think the car is as good as it needs to be, kind of thing, and so he's having to push a little harder. I don't know, but it just
How many
we've
parallels, man, do you think we can draw between Hamlin and Chastain and Hamilton and Verstappen, though?
there's a bunch.
Seriously.
There's a
Yeah.
bunch there. What we need though is for Chastain to hold up his end of the deal because he's not a championship race winning performer. I mean, he is, but not to Verstappen Hamilton level.
Right.
But man, I think those two. I don't know if Verstappen and Hamilton, if there's any love lost between those two, or if they're just
There's not.
ultra competitive. But Hamlin and Chastain, I think, hate each other.
Yeah.
And then something we've talked about a lot on here. So this
Yeah.
week starts 15 straight weeks of NASCAR. 15. Their
Ridiculous.
first break is June 18th, which I thought is just, I mean, you're going to start February and you're not going to end NASCAR. They're not even going to take a breather for 15
Yeah.
weeks till the middle of summer. I mean, it's going to be hot here. It's cold right now. And the next time that we have a weekend that doesn't have NASCAR, it's going to be 90 degrees. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And we've talked about this during the entirety of this show's run, on and off.
Yes.
That's entirely too much racing.
It's entirely
And-
too much racing.
Yeah, and I don't think they give the fans recovery time. I don't think they give the drivers and teams enough recovery time. But more than that, they don't allow their fan base to want to watch NASCAR. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They don't want them. They don't have them jonesing for it.
It's
'Cause,
too
I mean-
easy to miss a race and you just catch the one next weekend.
Yeah, just catch it next
Yeah.
week, man.
I
You know?
mean, it's going to be on again next weekend. I'll just watch it next weekend. Or Formula One, and you miss a race, it might be 2 weeks before you see one.
Yeah.
Almost guaranteed it's going to be 2 weeks before you get to
Dude,
see
it's
another race.
Pavlov's dog, man. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, you're just salivating over when the next race is or where is it?
Yep.
NASCAR, it's every week.
Yeah, like I said, And speaking of NASCAR being at every week, Jay, segue, we are going to be at the NASCAR truck race on April 1st. And if you want to go and hang out with us and win tickets, I put it up there on the bottom of the
Yes.
screen. But 800-786-5489. Text the code word FUEL, FUEL, to enter in to win tickets to come hang out with us at the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race. And I think it's got tickets for the IndyCar race, which is the next day, man, which we plan on being there too. Hopefully the media team at Texas Motor Speedway is going to let us use one of their sound stages, their studios, and let us record live right there. So that would be pretty cool, right above Victory Lane. I've done that with Will a couple of times, and it's a really neat experience. So hopefully we get to do that.
Good deal.
All right, man. I am done with the NASCAR minute. I think that was about 3 minutes. So let's move on to the fuel pod news.
Well, I'm just going to move into the last piece of it. We had the final trailer drop for Drive to Survive today. And I mean, of course they do that J.J. Abrams flash in the pan, different cut scenes, none of them related to each other, but saw a lot of stuff in there. They showed a lot of the getting into each other. Alonso and Stroll and Stroll and Vettel. And I saw that one. Of course, we saw Gunther Steiner say, effing madness and, all the time and doing his thing too. So, but the cool thing was, right at the very beginning, Verstappen, and he says, when you need to be aggressive, you need to be aggressive. And when you need to be smooth, you need to be smooth. And yogiisms aside, he's absolutely correct when it comes to Formula One. And it's his first year back on the show on Drive to Survive.
Yeah, he took last year off. That's right.
He took last year off because he didn't like the direction they took his character as the bad guy. So anyway, his character, that's hilarious.
Character. It's funny.
So, yeah.
Anything else on the NASCAR or the fuel pod news?
I don't, man. We just don't have I don't think we have enough time.
Yeah, we're blowing through pretty quick. This has been a fast episode, man.
It has.
I'm going to throw this other banner up here that has, because you were going to talk about our merch. So if you want to go help us out,
Yes.
pod.etsy.com, just go to etsy.com and you can search Fuel Pod and you'll find it. I found it today.
Get you some t-shirts with your favorite color swatch of your favorite teams. And some if you're up there in cold weather land, get you a hoodie. Enjoy it.
I think Jay put beanies on there. He's got all kinds of stuff, man. All kinds of stuff. So let's get to I'm going to do the prime strip read real quick.
Okay.
I actually and this time I get to talk about it because I've actually eaten it, Jay. I'm sorry. I did have prime shrimp today. It showed up at my house and I didn't get a chance to take Jay's over to him because his came to my house. So Prime Shrimp, family-owned company, 1943 is when this company started. They're based in Louisiana. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's easy. You boil water, you throw it in there. It's not 10 minutes. You throw it in there, and it took about 5 minutes to get ready. And I took it out, let it cool just a little bit, clip the bag, never even took it out of the bag. So I did the Louisiana boil tonight. I mean, because it was one of those nights. We did the Louisiana boil and the signature Cajun. Jenny Lee loved the signature Cajun. Elizabeth loved the Cajun, and I love the Louisiana boil. Had a little bit of spice. It was fantastic.
Breaking this show up. Next week I'll be going solo as the fuel and Chad can do odd by himself, the odd show.
I made my own little so I'm a keto guy and all this shrimp is like no sugar. It's keto, even the sauces, they're perfect. And I did a shrimp po' boy on a keto bun. So it was fantastic. I'm really
sure it
excited.
was, man.
I'm really excited to try the lemon and cracked pepper tomorrow.
I hope you don't choke on it later.
So, if you want to try prime shrimp, go to primeshrimp.com, primeshrimp.com, enter the code FuelPod, 25% off your first order. It is fantastic. I promise you it's good. Jay's going to find out. I'll probably run it over to him tonight so he can have it tomorrow. It is really, really, really good. It was better than I even expected it to be. It was really good.
And if anybody needs a friend, Chad has an opening.
So let's move on. I am if you want to follow us on Twitter, I'm ChadH610.
And I am who am I on Twitter, dude? Oh yeah, JNeil729. Sorry.
On Twitch, I'm also ChadH610.
And I am GMJ729.
You need to come watch us on Twitch sometime. We've been racing, and I actually had a good race the other day. So you need to come watch us.
Yeah, you did, man.
While I have a good race because it's going to get bad real fast.
Yeah, you did. You won. Good job.
I did. I win. It may be the only win I have all year. Probably will be the only win I have all year.
True.
It's true. Best way. Oh, and if you get on Discord, we did add Jay's real brother this week on Discord. So if you want to get on Discord,
Bravo 26 Delta, man, welcome to the fray.
Go on. Just look for Fuel Pod. Anyway, Jay, I think that wraps up Paint It Black.
It does.
And we will see you next week to talk a little bit about what are we going to talk about? Winter testing. What else we got?
We are going to talk about winter testing. We are definitely going to give our final predictions performance wise for the following season for the upcoming season for Formula One. So yeah. So you want to give your top who's going to finish 1 through 10? Like constructors or what do you want to do? We got 20 seconds. Yeah, we need to just do top 2 constructors and top 3 drivers.
Okay.
And we can do some predicting like on who's going to finish dead last, or is McLaren going to fall apart during the middle of the year? We can do all that too, but we'll definitely key in on those things.
Well, I look forward to talking with you next week. Thank you guys for listening, and we will see you next
Thank you so
Thursday
much,
night.
people.
Have a great day.